Welcome back to the channel, guys. First off, if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring the bell if you like my content. All my social medias can be found in the comment section of this video. That's my Facebook, my TikTok, my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Snapchat. Give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out an awful lot with the algorithms, and it helps my videos rise up and more people can view them. All guests that I have on my channel, all their links to all their social medias can also be found in the comment section of this video. That could be their Instagrams, their Facebooks, their TikToks, whatever you want, whatever they're promoting can be found in the comment section of this video, even if it's a book. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Big up to all my subscribers, big up to all the viewers, big up to everybody on YouTube. I hope you enjoy this podcast because I really enjoy making all these podcasts. And if you want to donate to the channel, you can via the PayPal link in the comment section of this video. I've pinned all the links to one comment in the top of the comment section of this video. Just click into the comment section. You can see I've pinned that. Just press read more and it'll come up with all the links that I've been talking about here. If you do want to donate to the channel, you can via the PayPal link that I've provided in the comment section. The reason why I've got a PayPal link is because I don't have a super chat. I don't have any of those things because YouTube take a massive chunk off that money. I think it's like 50%. So if anybody is going to donate their hard work money to my channel, then I would rather that be done via PayPal and they take less of a chunk, and it makes me feel better at least. I don't want all that money going to YouTube. As a content creator, we're putting in the hard work. Yes, YouTube has provided us the platform, but there's many other platforms, and if YouTube went tomorrow, there'd be many other platforms for people to go on to. So the fact that they take 50% of the money, that's why I don't have a super chat or any of that membership stuff going on, because at the end of the day, my subscribers are coming in, they're working hard all week, and then they're going to donate whatever they're donating. I've had a lot of people ask this here, and I'm not really comfortable with their money going to YouTube. So if you do want to donate to the channel, and for the people that have asked, use the PayPal link in the comment section of the video. You don't have to, but it's there if you want to. Guys, thank you very much for tuning into this podcast. Remember, smash that like button, subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't already. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in, and peace and enjoy. Ben Hornsby, you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, mate.
Excellent. Third time lucky. This is the third time we've done this. Now we're on Zoom, and we're going to get this done. Maybe there's going to be a couple of parts. I don't know how Zoom works, but we'll do this in a few parts if need be. But you've got an interesting
Yeah.
life. You live in a beautiful place. You're quite a positive character now, but you have a few stories to tell. So, do you want to brief us on who you are, where you've came from, and sort of your early life?
Yeah, so basically, I'm a recovering heroin addict. I started taking heroin when I was 16 because I hated myself as a child. I was sexually abused when I was 10 by four women. Didn't physically hurt me. They was taking turns giving me head, but I was drunk and I hadn't started puberty, and I was one of them kids that's made out as a man before I was a man. And because they seen me naked, I felt like a child, even though I was a child. So anyway, cut a long story short, in my mind then I thought, well, I've got to be a man now. They've seen me like a child. So my idea of being a man was causing crime, taking drugs, vandalism, just being an out and out immature child, basically. So that's kind of how my life went from 11 till 16. All through school, I tried all the drugs, acid, speed, ecstasy, pills, anything that would take me away from my thoughts of less than, like the insecurities, the cowardliness sort of thoughts that I had, the weakness that I thought I was. When I took drugs, I felt brave, thought I could do things. And then I met heroin for the first time, and it was almost like I'd found heaven. It was almost like when I first smoked it, it was like the clouds opened up and I was in heaven and I felt safe. I could do everything I thought I could never do. I felt brave. So I just thought, okay, well, I've only got to spend a tenner a day. So I was working and I can have a great life, not realizing the pain that come. But after a week, I started withdrawing, then realized what in a world of shit I was actually in. So basically, from then on, my life was pretty crap. It went on a slow, continual decline of shoplifting, petty thieving, burglary. Got caught selling heroin to undercover police, which they done a very good job at it because they sent 3 people around to me for 3 months, and I thought they were my friends. But little did I know they had cameras on their dungarees filming me, so I got done for that. And when I was in prison, I got into a lot of trouble. Not a lot of trouble, because I was fascinated by the Cray twins and Charlie Bronson back then, and I always wanted to go to prison. But when I was sat on that prison bus clucking, I didn't want to go to prison, mate. I tell you, I actually thought I was going to die in that prison cell, in that prison, because I was 8 stone, dripping wet, skinny junkie. But when I'd done my detox, started going to the gym and got brave again, that immature foolishness behaviour come back, and I wanted to be a gangster again and got involved in stupid things like hostage takings, barricading. But I won't go into that because I don't want to glorify it, because it's a mugs game, prison. But yeah, I didn't learn my lesson when I was in jail. But when I got to the end of my sentence, I was told I was going to get tagged. I was looking forward to it. I wanted to stay clean because I'm from the Cotswolds, Oxford originally, and I just wanted, because I love fishing, and I just wanted to go fishing, feel the wind on my skin again naturally, which I did do, but with a bottle of cider in my hand. But because when I got released from prison, all my friends said, "Come around for a barbecue." They had cannabis there, this, that, and the other, and I didn't really know the strength of addiction back then. I just thought I had a heroin problem. So I started smoking a bit of weed, having a bit of drink, and within a week I was back on bloody Subutex, which is a heroin substitute, and I couldn't stop. It's just the same, pretty much. You get addicted to it, it gives you the same pain. Then I was back on heroin again. Um, and not long after that, after being released from prison, my little brother was killed in a car accident by my cousin. He was drink driving. He was just over the limit, and he killed 8 people in the accident. It was a head on. I don't blame him, because my little brother, drunk drove, and I got in the car with my little brother when he drunk drove as well, and could have quite easily killed me. So I don't blame my cousin at all. But he split the family up, because obviously it was my mum's son and my mum's brother's son, and that messed the family up. But I was already on drugs then, obviously, and I was pretty much insane then because I was injecting everything. But I went completely insane then when my little brother died. I'd lost the plot because we was very close, and I was injecting anything I could cook up in a spoon, like ecstasy, everything, Valium. I was cooking up and I was injecting it, and I went completely mad. The relationship I was in, I was just starting to build half decent life because I was reducing on my medication. I was nearly off the drugs. I ruined that. I cheated on her. The flat I had, I smashed it to bits. It turned into like a crack den. Got into 12 grand debt. Had to leave there. I bought a caravan and put on the travellers site because I grew up with travellers as well, which a lot of travellers get a lot of hate towards them. But on this site, there were some nasty ones. There were some lovely ones. No different to everyday life people. I worked with some of them and they paid me well. I worked with others, didn't pay me very well at all. But anyway, I destroyed that caravan pretty quick through the drugs. I ruined it. Bloody, I ended up sleeping in the winter with no electric. I smashed the windows out through being drunk. It got to the point where the gypsies didn't even want me on their land, so I had to get off of there. And I moved to a town called Banbury. Lived with my older brother for a bit. Always had a few jobs, always managed to get a few jobs, but I always got sacked under the influence of drugs. And I always said to myself when I was on heroin, is what people always warned me, don't get on there because you'll end up bad. And I thought I won't, because I can handle speed, I can handle coke, and I can handle weed. I thought I can handle heroin, but I always said to myself, as long as I don't end up homeless in the street begging, I'll be all right. Well, that's what happened. I ended up upsetting my brother. He kicked me out because he couldn't stand me because of the way I was behaving, and I had to sit down on the streets and beg for money, and that completely broke my spirit. And then I did that. Luckily it was in the summer, and this is how deluded I was. Right, I was sleeping underneath a canal bridge, and I thought, well, at least I've got a roof over my head. I laugh about it now, but Yeah, he was completely insane. And then one day, a little boy came up to me and gave me a little bottle of water, and it broke my heart because most kids would walk past, spit on you, shout at you, and swear at you. But he gave me this bottle of water, and I actually guessed he was about 8 years old. Then he's gone into the shop, done whatever he done, and he come back out and he's looking at me, and I'm thinking he's probably looking at me thinking, what a state of that bloke? Because I look rough, like a tramp. I shouldn't say that word really. I look like a dirty man on the street, like you do when you see other drug addicts begging on the streets. But he came up to me and gave me 3 quid. And I thought, bloody hell, at 8 years old, there's no way I'm giving nobody none of my money at 8 years old. I'd have been keeping it for. I used to buy polos and Hubba Bubba. That's what it was back then in my age, Hubba Bubba chewing gum. I wouldn't have been giving no money. I never certainly wouldn't have lent none either. But he gave it me and it just broke my heart. And I thought, well, if he feels sorry for me, why the bloody hell don't I feel sorry for myself? So I went and I tucked my sleeping blanket away. I went and got help. There's a it's a drop-in centre for drug addicts and alcoholics called Turning Point. There's a lot of them around the country, and they've been trying to get me into rehab for years. But I always thought rehab was just some sort of mind bloody um, brainwashing sort of place, which turns out that's what I actually needed. So, and the withdrawals from heroin really hurt me, and I didn't think I could ever do it. But I thought, you know what, sod it, I'm giving it a go. I've got to get off the streets because I just done this robbery of a house in a nightclub in Banbury and stole some stuff that belonged to some very like tough people, and I was scared, so I'd done a runner, and that was kind of another of the reasons why I went into the rehab. So, but when I went into rehab, I went in there like with a chip on my shoulder, like I was better than everybody, and I thought this therapy's a load of nonsense, not realizing that they are actually there to help you. They're not there trying to make you worse. So one day I was moaning about the place, and somebody said, "Well, look, mate, just pack your bags, sod off. I'll help you pack your bags and go." I wasn't the one that asked you to come here. You was the one begging for us to save your life, and I thought, you know what? They're right. What am I doing? So they started teaching me things about your thoughts. Law of attraction was brought up quite a bit. And when the breakthrough for me was when they said our thinking controls our future. What we think about, we become. And I thought, well, it baffled me for a bit. And I thought, what we think of our thoughts control our future. And I said, I don't understand. And they said, well, what did you used to think about yourself as a child? I said, well, I'm thick, I'm useless, I'm a junkie, I'm no good for nothing, I'm a failure. And they said, okay, fair enough. So what was your life like? And I said, I was a homeless street beggar. And they said, well, there you go then. And I said, well, what do I do? They said, change your thinking. I said, but how can I? It's true. What I've just told you is true. And they said, no, thoughts are not true. They're just like thoughts and memories and different things that just go through your head that you believe. They said, because you can't be that thick because you managed to get yourself in rehab. So I'd say you're pretty intelligent. And then it just hit me. I thought, oh yeah. So I started transforming my thinking. So instead of thinking negative, I started speaking love into my life. I didn't believe it to start with, but I had to tell myself, this is what they made you do. They made you look in the mirror and say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, Ben. I love you just the way you are. I love you just the way you are. Every day. We had to say it 300 times a day. And some people used to say, I ain't doing that. How can you do that every day? And then somebody said, well, you've spent all your life calling yourself good for nothing, useless junkie. Yeah, surely you can just talk a little bit of love into your life for a couple of hours a day. So that's what I started doing. And it got to the point where I didn't need to do it anymore. It just become second nature to keep myself safe, speak love into my life, and keep myself, distance myself away from any kind of negativity. And that's what I did. And what I noticed was then I started attracting good people into my life. I was making really good friends. Uh, and in rehab, they helped you find like a purpose in life. And I wanted to be a boss. I didn't know what of. I just wanted to be a boss because I used to do plastering, and I started off thinking I want to be a plasterer's boss. And so I have like these things like visualization. I get pictures in my head. Some people get thoughts. I get pictures. And this bloke said, "Well, what do you think? What can you see?" And I said, "Well, I can see me in my van, people running around carrying my tools." And they said, "Right, brilliant. I can see the passion in your face now. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to set your goals towards doing that." So what they did was they made you set, but these goals you had to set had to be uncomfortable because we've like lived in on drugs to keep us in comfort all our life. Now we've got to start living in the uncomfortability to grow, to get personal growth. So we set challenges like every week towards becoming a plasterer, a plasterer's boss. But then I thought, you know what? I want to do better than that. I've been a plasterer. I want to be a businessman. So I got into network marketing. It was Herbalife at the time. And so I started doing certain things. So like boxercise was one of them. I wanted to do boxercise, but it was full of women. And I can't dance for one, especially if I had MDMA in me, mate. I can dance all night long. Don't you worry about that. But no MDMA in me, I can't dance.
Yeah,
And it was full of women. And I told you before, I was shy around women. So they said, right, that's what you got to do. You got to go to a boxercise class on your own with just women in there. So I thought, I went and done it. But they said, but before you go, think about all the thoughts that are going through your mind. All mine were, they're going to laugh at me. I've got 2 left feet. I'm probably going to be stupid. They're probably going to think he's an idiot. Get out of the class. So they were my first thoughts. Anyway, I did it, right? And the PT set me up where she said, well, you go over there with her. And it must have been the most beautiful looking woman I've ever seen in my life. And I thought, oh no, this is going to be terrible. With what if I mess it up? But anyway, I did it, and we had a right laugh. You know what I mean? I had 2 left feet, but we found it funny. And I made friends of her, and I made friends of all the other women. And I do boxercise all the time. Not all the time now, but I can. I'm not afraid to do it anymore. So what I learned was through being anxious, anxiety, I've now used it as a tool. Yeah, because if I hadn't have gone, I'd have beat myself up, and all them old thoughts would have come back. Coward, no good, useless. But I did it, and so now I see anxiety as a blessing because it gives you an opportunity to step outside your comfort zone and grow every day. There's always a reward by stepping outside your comfort zone. So I did that. So I started feeling like a success. So on my like values list, my gratitude list, I started writing things now like I love myself, I am a success, I can achieve things, stuff like that. And I was becoming more confident. The way I walked, I held my head high. I was happy. I was attracting better people into my life. And then I was doing network marketing where people have to send you their money before you sell them a product. So usually I was stealing money. Now people were sending me money, trusting me with money. So then I wanted to get into more business. And when you do network marketing, you kind of coach a team to sell products for you. And then after I got out of rehab, I realized I'd learned a lot of therapies. And so I wanted to become a life coach. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm a transformational coach. But before I got to that, I managed to stay clean for 3.5 years and made the silly mistake of dabbling again, thinking I could just have the odd joint fishing because I love fishing. But just the odd joint, the odd drink at fishing in the summer. But I dabbled on a date with a woman, but we got absolutely hammered and I was hanging the next day. And I was so ill, I went and got loads more drink, got paralytic drunk, bumped into a friend who'd happened to relapse on crack. We smoked crack together, and that was it. I was lost in addiction again for another 2 years. But in them 2 years, mate, I'm going to be honest with you now. I'm going to tell you something I never told nobody. So I've got to release this shit for me because it's been eating me alive for a long time. But I'd done something terrible that I'd said I'd never do. But I went round a woman's house with a hammer, fully prepared, not to hurt her, just to scare her to get some money. I was burgling somewhere where I knew there was some money. Yeah, I'm disgusted about it. I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for it, but I was never going to hurt the woman. But I need to release this. I've never told nobody, mate. You're the first person I've ever told. And that was one of the main reasons I said I was going to come on here. I was going to be brutally honest, yeah. But that's where drugs takes you. So if there's any kids watching here, please don't go down that route because you end up doing things that goes against your spirit, I tell you. And I'm glad I got away with it. Someday I'm going to have to make amends to her, but I probably scared the life out of her. I did not. I promise you now, I didn't plan to hurt her. It was just scary to get the money. But I needed to say that because I've got to release that shit for me because it's been eating me up for a long time. But didn't get nicked, luckily. But it's not something I'm proud of, obviously. But that's where drugs took me, mate. But luckily, this time around, it didn't take me long to ask for help to get back into rehab. Because I was robbing cars. Every night I was just checking car doors, just robbing cars, I was robbing everything. After being clean for 3 years, living a great life, in them 3 years, I've become a published author. I was an entrepreneur. I was a motivational speaker. Relapsed, lost it all. A few weeks later, I'm robbing cars again, doing terrible stuff because that's how quickly drugs will
Was that
grab you out
quite
of your.
close? Was that not too long ago then?
Uh, I'm 18 months clean again.
So 18 months ago, so it's quite recent then. You spent a long stretch of your life clean away from all that. And I've got a few questions about your early life, but
yeah,
just to focus on this, the you were clean for 3 years and then you relapsed.
3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that must have been. But one thing stands out though, Ben, is that your honesty is great. But you have this. You were honest about the way
yeah,
you were feeling throughout your whole life. You said that you felt like a worthless piece of shit. And do you think the drugs comforted
yeah.
that and they sort of masked your feelings? And if anything, the drugs helped you with the feelings, but they weren't helping you, they were just masking it. Would that be correct?
That's that's exactly what it is. It's like I disagree when doctors give people medication for anxiety because they don't stop they stop the anxiety for a short time, but when you come off them later on, the anxiety is still there. You've got to learn to deal with the anxiety, sit with the feelings. Same with the drugs. The drugs mask it for a little while, but when they've gone, the feelings come back even worse because you're ill from the drugs now. So it was just a mask, mate. You're right, spot on. It was just a
Well,
mask.
if in regards to the whole pharmaceutical drugs, look, your opioids is just heroin. There's speed and ADHD medicine. There's
Yeah,
all these drugs that are illegal are actually sold legal through the pharmaceutical companies, and that's big business, that's politics, but that's
yeah.
it's quite hypocritical. Do you think, just a question for you, do you think drugs are the problem, or do you think it's society that's the problem?
That's a difficult question, mate. That one is. For me, my problem was I didn't love myself. Yeah, that was my problem. I didn't love myself, so it was almost like it's a difficult one to answer. I didn't love myself, so I took drugs to learn to love myself. Society, it's a difficult one because they just give out drugs willy nilly sometimes in the doctors. Some doctors give out stuff they shouldn't be giving out. I don't know if they should bring out like give methadone heroin to people. I'm not sure because weed's becoming legalized in certain countries now. I don't know what to think about that. I know it's got its benefits, but what if you see young kids now at 14 smoking vapes? If weed's legalized, you'll be seeing 15, 14-year-old kids smoking zoots. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to do their lungs much good. But I don't know. That's an hard. I've never been asked that one, mate. I'm not sure, really.
What I mean by that is what I mean. Do you think that the drug, you get addicted to the drug, or do you think it's because of the people's lives, the way they live in society, their mind frame, that sort of
Yeah,
makes.
yeah, yeah. I think it is. It's probably yourself, the way your life is. If you're not comfortable with life and you can find comfort in something, and it turns out to be drugs, it's that. Yeah, yeah. My drugs was a problem. No, not loving myself was my problem. The drugs were secure.
Well,
Yeah,
there's that study that was in America. Just to talk about this because it's quite interesting. It's quite fascinating. The whole drug debate and what people's experiences with drugs. Like there's that professor in America who's, I think an ex Harvard professor, and throughout his whole career he would have smoked heroin, but it was heroin that he would have made himself, and he was never addicted, and he could come off it and go.
yeah.
You think do you think if you loved yourself, do you think if you had the confidence as a kid that maybe you wouldn't have got into those situations?
I think I would have avoided a lot of them situations, but I probably would have probably dabbled in something. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
a question now about your early life because you've talked about a lot. And forgive me if I forgot a few things, but I'm trying to pick out the main points. The the when you were young, you were sexually abused by, was it three women?
Oh, yeah,
Four women. Now, a lot of
yeah,
people will be watching this, and we live in a society today where they go, "Oh well, that's a lucky man, that's a lucky guy," because men are not seen that way. We're seeing, it's only
yeah.
women that get abused in that sense. But in that moment, did you know what you were doing? Were you coaxed into that? What if
No,
you?
I, I was paralytic drunk, mate.
Yeah.
They dragged me into a wood naked. They took me into a wood and took my clothes off. I was that's why in rehab I said it was experimentation, and rehab said no, that's sexual abuse. You was drunk. You didn't know that. You didn't know. You didn't plan for them to do that. Do you know what I mean? And in a sense, part of me bragged about it afterwards to my mates, saying, "Oh yeah, she did this, she done that, she done that." But the truth of the matter is, I was embarrassed about it, mate. Yeah,
Well,
it messed my head up for yeah,
that's what I'm
it
trying to
did
say.
mess my head up for a bit. I wasn't physically yeah,
No, as it says, that's what I'm trying to say. We live in this society where
yeah,
it's like, of course you're a young man. You're going to brag about it. You're going to talk about it. But realistically speaking, you were a young man that was in that situation and
yeah,
with four women. And that's just the same as, in my opinion, as four blokes and a young girl, because it's going to still
yeah,
have the same psychological effects as you grow up. Um,
yeah.
did you there's a thing like you're feeling of not having any confidence and not maybe feel no self-worth. Did that stem from family life?
Well, I think it did because I used to cry a lot as a child, right? Just as most kids probably did. I had an older brother that I idolized, and I love him now, love him dearly. But I idolized him; he was like my god. But he used to bully me sometimes for crying, so I always labelled crying as weak. And being crying a lot, so when I used to cry, I used to hide. I didn't want nobody to let me know I was crying, and I think it kind of just sort of stemmed from that. Yeah, and I used to fight a lot as a child, but if I ever lost a fight, that'd actually break my spirit. I'd think I was useless. I'd hide. I didn't want nobody to know. Do you know what I mean?
So it's like it's sort of, without sounding bad here, it's sort of like the as a young child the building blocks to the ultimate ego. Like
Yeah,
the ego is you have to be better than everybody in the room, and if you're not, you're just a worthless piece of shit, and you have to strive. And sometimes that's a good thing, but then sometimes if you have
yeah,
that, if you're feeling that at a young age, that can actually lead you down a path that you shouldn't go down. What was your first
yeah.
introduction into crime then? Was that in teenage years?
Well, pretty much, yeah. When I was in secondary school, when I went to Banbury, I started selling heroin for. And this is not a brag. A lot of people think I'm probably talking shit here, but you can Google it. I started selling heroin for Tony Lambriano, Tony Lambriano's younger brother. You probably heard of the Lambriano twins. It got done with the Cray twins for murder. Well, they had two brothers that moved to Banbury after the Jack Hat McVitie murder. The youngest brother was selling heroin, and because of his name, and I loved the craze back then, I wanted to buy my heroin from him. And I started buying it from him, then started living with him, then started selling it from him, and that's when I got into serious crime then. But it's all on Google. A lot of people think I talk shit about that, but it's all there to be seen. The prison
Yeah,
sentences of us together and that, yeah, I can
yeah.
prove it. So
Well, look,
yeah,
the thing about it
nothing to
is,
brag.
right? I'm just trying to sort out.
Yeah,
I'm using Zoom here for the first time, and I'm just
yeah.
trying to sort this out. So I apologize. I'm just trying to get it. Let me see. Let me just get this.
But crime in itself sometimes, mate, can be an addiction because the whole rush of it all, the whole planning of what you're going to do, doing it, getting your stuff, hiding it, selling it. There's so many different addictions out there that I wasn't aware of until now. And I've pretty much been through them all: gambling, sex, relationships, bloody eating. God knows success. Even becoming successful was one. You know what I mean? There's so many things you like you can
Yeah,
obsess over.
yeah. The thing about it is too, right? You were very honest, right? So you said something there at the end. You says, "Look, I've never said this to anybody before. This
Yeah,
I went into a house with a hammer. I relapsed, and I went into a house with a hammer to get money for drugs, essentially." You didn't
yeah.
have to say that. You could have just kept that to yourself, and you could have just went about your life and never said that to anybody. What is the reason why you have to be so honest?
because it's honesty like that, mate, is going to save my life and and everybody else's life. Because holding in things like stuff like that can build up to me maybe picking up a drink one day or whatever. And like I said, honesty like that, I'm very honest now, you see. And I thought if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it properly. Yeah. If I get hatred from it, I get hatred from it. Because I know a lot of people on YouTube say certain things, they get called nonsense, grasses, and all that. And I'm going to be honest with you, mate. I hate that word grass. I wish I was more of a grass when I was younger because I wouldn't have gone through the life I went through. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get you.
You know what I mean? What?
Yeah, I understand. I understand that fully. Yeah.
Where did the word grass come from? Probably some insecure mafia boss in the 1950s sat in a prison cell. You know what I mean? It was hard. It's not like it come from the Bible, is it? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying going around report everybody for nicking a strawberry or, but if you got into a big crime and there's loads of you in it and you all keep your mouth shut and you've just got yourself 20 years, that's foolish. You're better off just telling the truth. You know what I mean? Maybe one get a big sentence, but the rest of you at least get some of you out. But no, you don't grass, you don't grass. But I hate that word now, mate. And I might get stick for that, but I didn't give a shit. Do you know what I mean? I wish I'd opened my mouth a little bit more when I was younger, and then I wouldn't have had to go through a lot of the stuff I went through. But that's me.
Well, Ben, I actually agree with you in regards to the whole grassing thing because if you are a civilian, right, and you're being maybe targeted or whatnot, I mean, you're not a grass for going to the police. You're not a grass for trying to protect your community. Now, if you are a gangster or if you're a criminal in that aspect, then yes, there's probably if you're going to grass on other criminals, that's probably bad. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you was all in it together, planning on doing stuff like that, yeah, in that sort of sense, yeah,
Yeah. So you,
yeah.
yeah, it's like it's a strange one though because you get a lot of this on YouTube today where people are like, he's a grass, he's a grass, he's a grass. I do listen for one personally myself. I don't really like speaking to police. That's just where I come
No,
from. I don't really have any affiliation with police because not that not that they're really bad these days in the north of Ireland, but what way could I put this? They're not really for the people. They say they're for the people to think things have changed, but in that respect, I probably wouldn't go to the police. But if you're a normal citizen and you're under threat, I would suggest go to the police. But if you are a criminal, or you're a gangster, or if you're in that world, 100% I would see that as grassing because what you're essentially doing is you're just trying to take out the opposition so you can gain from it, and that
yeah.
that I don't agree with. Um, so we've covered a few. There's a lot that you spoke about. You've sort of briefed us on a lot there, and your honesty. I have to say, I have to commend you on your honesty. Your honesty is fantastic. I think a lot of people, if they're more honest, they would be more free, um, in the sense that you've got a whole weight lifted off your shoulder. Um, how the question that I have for you though, to spend 3 years clean and you want to become this sort of like a life coach and influencer, which you're doing now and you're quite successful at it.
Yeah.
How did it feel then at that moment? Like there's a moment there that you talked about that you had a couple of smokes off a joint, you then had a couple of drinks, and that actually made you spiral out of control. Was it just that little thing, or was there more to it? And how did you feel going back into addiction again?
Well, when I look back at it now, since I was in rehab again, I realised the power of addiction. It had me from day one. It had me in every area, like I was saying. It's a weird thing to explain. It's so complex. Addiction is just as complex as his bloody relationships. But it's almost like my mind, my addict mind knew he's got to grips with drugs now. He knows how to stop taking drugs. All right, we'll have him with overeating. So I started overeating, comfort again, comfort food. I used to eat to the point where I just couldn't eat no more, but I'd eat. And then I got to grips with that. And then it was the gym, got obsessed with the gym, always looking in the mirror, got new muscles, self obsessed, become super self obsessed, started doing steroids. Uh, then I got to grips with that, stopped doing that. Then gambling. than women sex. I going on. I almost created like a network marketing scheme of dating websites. I got on every single dating website there was. WhatsApp was getting numbers from all of them. So it was basically every night my phone would get a bing, 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 at least from any woman, and it'd be random women. I didn't care what they looked like. I would just go out because I just wanted the pleasure. Pleasure. It was a comfort thing. Um, so yeah, it just had me from day one. And then success. I wanted to have loads of money. I was flashy. I become big headed. I stopped working a very simple program that kept me clean because I thought I had life stress now. I was living in hotels every night. I was letting everybody know about it, showing off. And I went on a date with this woman. I think she was a millionaire because she had a massive great house. She pulled out some drink. And I actually said I don't want any on the first time. But it was a red hot summer's day. She poured out this prosecco in a big glass, um, just a big glass. But the condensation dripped down the side of the glass, and it just made my mouth water. And I thought, oh my god, that looks Moorish. So I had a swig, and I thought, you know what, I actually feel all right. I don't feel like they say in recovery when they say when you got a belly full of no when you got a head full of recovery and a belly full of beer, you feel bad. Well, I thought, well, I don't. And then I had a joint and I went a bit paranoid for a bit. Then I sat in the grass and I couldn't just stop laughing. She was laughing at me and I was laughing at her. And it just felt fantastic. But I just carried on drinking and drinking and drinking. And in the morning, I was hanging, like really hanging. And I was back to like searching the kitchen for any drips of drink, just like I was back before. And then I couldn't find any drink. So I had to tell her a lie. I said, look, I'm going home. I've got work to do. Went home, had a drink. I didn't actually drink for 3 days. But then I just started, because I used to work in Wetherspoons because you had the free Wi-Fi and you get the free coffee with your breakfast. But that free coffee turned into a pint with breakfast, and I got paralytic one day. Then I bumped into that bloke with a crack, and then the spiraled completely out of control. So it gets you in many areas. You have to be very, very careful, even with social media, mate. Uh, I don't know if I should say names on here, really, but
Yeah, we'll
I'm going
try
to
to
say
keep
it.
we'll try to
Maybe
keep
not. Maybe,
away. Yeah.
yeah. Well, somebody recently relapsed on here, but and I thought he had a bit of a social media obsession, and they don't realise an obsession can lead to other obsessions. You see, and you have to be very careful with the obsessions.
Are
You
you?
have to get to grips with them quick.
I think that's okay to talk about. I think you're talking about Paul, are you?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, Paul. Listen, listen. We're not. Paul's a decent lad. Do you know what I mean? And
he's a good
um,
man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure you could talk about Paul. I'm sure he wouldn't mind in that aspect. We're not saying anything bad, but
right.
yeah, that was quite sad to see. But I've just seen recent videos
Yeah,
of him there, and he seems like he's getting better. But is
I
addiction
hope so.
is addiction? You're always fighting addiction. So, for instance, if there's anybody out there now that's going through addiction problems, whether it be alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling, whatever, if they relapse, is that them, or is it okay to relapse and then constantly relapse, or do you have to get to a stage where there's no relapses?
Well, I know some people, mate, that had heroin problems all their life, had kids, and just literally said, "I need to grow up." Never done it again. They have the odd wine with the wife in the morning or in the evening. But I know some people that are just serial relapses. They get clean for a bit, then they just relapse. Some people stay clean for 19 years, relapse, then get back. But for me, I'm glad I relapsed because I now know the full force of addiction. You know what I mean? I learned a lot from it. The guilt and shame destroyed me to the point I tried killing myself. So I'm more afraid now to even even contemplate trying anything like that again.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna sit here and tell you. I ain't gonna sit here and tell you that I'll never do something again because I do have a shandy, mate. I'm not a lager. I like to have a shandy lager with just a bit of lemonade in it. I just like it. Do you know what I mean? But
Would
at
you
the minute, I can pretty much
class yourself an alcoholic though?
alcohol is a drug, sex is a drug, gambling is a drug. It's drugs. It all does the dopamines, mate. They're all tied in together, sort of thing. But I gotta be careful. Every day, mate. I work a simple program. It's very simple. I like the other guy. What's his name? Danny Christie. He does just for the day readings, and they're good little books because each page it'll have something in there that you can practice through the day that help you keep clean, because it reminds you of why you're doing it, because you don't want to go back to where you come from. I have a similar book. It's not the same as his, but I read something every day. It's called Codependent. It's to do with codependency and addiction, and I do that, and I avoid places where there could be temptations. I feel a lot stronger now because of the relapse, and my mindset's a lot stronger because in rehab I did a lot of reading on addiction and being a life coach. It's very similar to therapy. So my program pretty much is my life now because of the coaching. I'm constantly coaching myself all the time. But I'm never going to sit. I couldn't sit here and say I'm never going to relapse again because I don't know. Because I've seen men fold after 20 years. I don't know many people that actually die clean from it. It's such an old disease, or I don't even know if it is a disease. Some people call it a disease. It's just such an horrible thing. You've got to be vigilant, extra vigilant. But
It's
for me,
it's strive to
for
feel
me,
good, isn't it? To
the
feel
best.
good. You
The
need to
best
feel good.
pardon?
I said it's you're always striving to feel good, and I think that's where heavy addiction
Yeah,
can lead into it. You know that you've got this thing to fall back on, so you always go to that, and it's to know that's not there. It's an uncomfortableness.
yeah. But for me, this is a thing that works for me. You've got to create a life where you don't want to use, and you also got to create a life that you don't. You've got to create a life where you don't want to use drugs, and you've got to create a life that you don't want to lose. And that's what I've done right now. I've got so much to lose now. I'm living in Bali. I walked out of rehab 6 months ago, just enough money to get the plane here. A friend of mine paid for the rent, but luckily I learned how to make money online, and so I'm not loaded, but I earn enough to live here pretty well. But I'm building on a business now. I'm in a position where I can hire people to work for me and advertise for me to make money. It's nothing to do with coaching. It's online advertising. But coaching is going to be my bread and butter. I've just been fully qualified as an internationally accredited life coach. I'm doing one more course, and they're going to launch my coaching course for me. At the minute, I'm just getting into it. I'm just starting doing some. Sometimes you might on my Facebook you'll see content. You won't see banter, not much banter. You'll see my content that offers value. So somebody will read it, at least someone will read that and think, you know what, I really like that. I'm glad I read that today because I get that every day. People message me saying thank you for that. So I always try and offer value all the time because I used to be on Facebook just saying random stuff like I'm going for a shit or just been
Yeah,
to the dentist or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, that's a good point because basically what you put, social media is not going to go away. So if you're going to put something on social media, you'd rather somebody read it and actually take something from it positive than
Yeah,
take something negative.
yeah,
I get that. I listen. Fair play to you. That's what it's about at the end of the day. And I actually think I know we're not going to just talk. We're not going to talk about the YouTube thing and all the rest. But if you look at the sort of use that as an example, if you look at the people that are watching that demographic of YouTube constantly, it's a very
yeah,
dark, negative energy, and
yeah,
not only are you watching that, but you're taking that home with you, and you're seeing a lot of like in that demographic of people, you're seeing a lot of family lives getting broke down. There's a lot of addiction. There's a lot of alcoholism. There's a lot of people beating women. There's a lot of noncery. There's a lot of this stuff, and
yeah,
if you're constantly watching that stuff, you're going to take a part of that with you. So, listen, I commend you for doing that because at the end of the day, it's not just about being positive; it's about being constructive. And if
yeah,
somebody's seeing your content on Instagram or whatever social media platform that you're on, and it's maybe they're taking something good from that that's going to help them, then that's at the end of the
yeah,
day, you're essentially helping people. And great. Listen,
yeah,
I'll leave the link for your Instagram and all your social medias that people can
yeah,
find you on
please.
in the comment
Well,
section.
the reason I do it is, mate, because I've stole, robbed, cheated, and steal, taken all my life. Now I'm in a position. I found my purpose in life, and it is to help others because I can. Because people reach out to me a lot, and that is my purpose. And I'm a great believer in what you give, you get back. I'm not all about money, but I've got to pay my bills. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you can help somebody, and what comes back, it's not seen by the eye. It's spiritual well-being. It's a beautiful feeling. You know, you've just changed someone's life for a few simple words. You know what I mean? But sometimes people do reward you with material things or whatever. It's not all about that for me. But obviously, I've got to pay my bills because some people say, "Oh, you're a scammer. You're preying on the vulnerable." Well, look at all these other different jobs out there. You got you got Aldi that sells spaghetti for 20p. Then you got another shop that sells it for £3. You know what I mean? It's no different to that. Who's the scammer? I mean,
Well, essentially,
some people just
you're trying to help people at the end of the day. It's not, you're not
yeah,
scamming anybody. You're not
no,
selling
no,
stuff. You're out there selling stuff, but at the end of the day, you're not scamming
yeah,
anybody. You're not saying you have to do this. You're just laying it all out there.
yeah.
And if people want to come in or whatever job you're doing, the networking, the marketing, or the life coach, it's it's up to them. You're not forcing people to do it.
Yeah. And for this YouTube thing, I won't go into it, but these haters and these trolls, right? They probably don't know this, right? It's a lot easier to hate on somebody else than to admit that they actually hate themselves. And that's what it is. They don't like themselves, so they make themselves feel better by trying to put somebody else down. And that's the truth.
Well, I trial run it. I said there was people that came to me a while back. There was lots of lies going on about me all over YouTube, saying I was this and saying I was that. And
Yeah,
a lot of people came to me, and I wanted to sort of live by the sword and die by the sword. And I says, look, they're saying we have to defend you here, Ronan. And I says, never ever defend me. Let people tell lies, because there's one thing: lies never gain traction. The truth does. So
no,
I never had anybody defend me. I never even defended myself. And what happened was, because it was lies, it all fizzled out and it burnt out because there was no substance to it. And
yeah,
I use that as an example now. If somebody's frustrating you in life, or if you're being ate up by whatever is going on, and there's lies, and you're with really negative, dark people, maybe attacking you, or maybe whatever situation you're in, if you take a step back and you're a good person and you know who you are, then you'll not really need to have to
yeah,
defend yourself or throw a fist up or do anything. Just take a step back, and for
yeah,
2 months' time, maybe even a week's time, you'll look back and you'll think to yourself, it's a good job I didn't even react to that. Because if you keep reacting to negative things, the negative things tend to happen in your life. Only react to the
yeah.
positive things that happen in your life, and more positive things will happen. And I don't mean to go on like a bit of a guru myself here, or because I don't know anything about this.
No, but listen, mate, listen. Honestly, that's exactly what I do. This is what I've decided to do now with negative comments. I don't even reply. Do you know what? I don't even delete them. I'll leave their little negative comment there, right, for everyone else to see. Because I've had people in the past saying, "Look, I'm really, really sorry I had a bipolar episode. I didn't mean to say that." I don't even delete them. Don't even entertain it. I let them speak because it gives you more engagement anyway. You know what I mean? So I just leave it.
That's true
If I
too.
know if I know I ain't done nothing wrong, if I know I ain't done nothing wrong, say what you like. 'Cause I didn't give a shit. Because what people's reality of me is not my reality. Do you know what I mean? So they can think what they want.
That's the thing. Like, it's just sometimes, and it's very hard to tell people this. And you see a lot of people that are a lot more successful. I see a lot of big YouTubers. I'm not going to mention their name. They've got near 1 million
Yeah,
subscriptions, and they're always focusing on the negatives. They're always answering the other people.
yeah,
If if uh, if I say something bad about you, Ben, or you say something bad about me, yeah, sure, okay. Do you believe that? There's no way I can change your mind about me, but there is. Your actions change people's mind. If you, it's not about what you say, it's about what you do, essentially. And if you do the right things, then that teaches these people that actually, look, I am not this person, and my channel is clean these days. There's none of that. Um, there's none of that stuff that goes on my channel anymore, and I live by the
no,
sword. I
that's
die by
good.
the sword, and that's it. There's a question I wanted to ask you though, Ben. What was prison like? Did you go to prison in England?
Yeah, it was in England. So while I was doing my detox and I was clocking, it was horrible. It was terrible. When I put a bit of weight on and looked all right, to be honest with you, mate, for me, it's a sad thing to say of a 22-year-old. I was happy in there because I was safe. I had 3 meals a day, but I didn't see much. Didn't ever hear any rape. I see a lot of fights, people being stabbed, sliced up. But other than that, I breezed through there. To be honest with you, I was safe. But my life was bad outside. I was better off in there. You got your PlayStations. They've got even more now. I don't. You're allowed phones in your cells now. As you can see, there's loads of people in YouTube stations making them from prison and making a lot of money out of it. I won't mention any names, but they're doing it pretty well.
No, I see it
You
too.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I see it myself. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But do you think that's a good thing or do you think that's a bad thing?
I don't know. I mean, if it keeps the crime down and people being in prison, I can't see the problem with it. But I don't know. It's a difficult one because a lot of people in prison going with an attitude, they still want to be a gangster. You see, the ones that want to go in there and change their lives, it's a shame. It's bad for them. Maybe, yeah. That's about all I can say for it, really. Because some people do actually want to go in there and change their lives, but then you got the gangs that still want to be gangs. Do you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. You have to
Well, why
sometimes you do got to watch your back.
why is it for a young fella to go into jail, into prison, sorry, and essentially, because I know it goes on anyway in prisons. I speak to a lot of people in the prisons, and the one common thing that they say to me is that there's more drugs in prison than there is outside. How is it for a young guy to go in and actually try to get clean and try to get your life together, but this is going on around you?
Yeah, it can be difficult, mate. It can be very difficult because sometimes when you're in your cell 24 hours a day, in your thoughts, and you've got clean, and you think, wow, bloody hell, I've got a little bit of money, so I might as well have a little bit of a smoke. It's a difficult one because it can get really boring and depressing in a cell, especially if you've got a cellmate you don't really get on with. You've got lots of stresses. It's a difficult one. Some people do it though, mate. Some people are a lot mentally stronger than others. It all depends on how much you want your life back, I suppose.
Yeah. Now you've touched
Yeah.
previously on what your life coaching and your job and stuff, but now I want to talk about your where you're living now and why did you go there?
Okay, so when I was in rehab in Portsmouth 7 years ago, I met a friend called Lewis Raymond Taylor. Uh, he just been in prison for nearly killing a man. It was an accident. Well, it weren't. He hit him and his head hit the concrete floor. Didn't mean to do that, and they put him in intensive care. We made friends. He was in a different rehab because there's two rehabs in Portsmouth. We become good friends, and we both thought the same. Between us, we've done loads of different therapies, maybe six, and we thought between us, we could probably start our own like NA meetings and just help people, and that's what got us into coaching. Um, so he went to college, university, he got A's and everything, come top of the class, and he started coaching and started doing very well very quick. He's now lives in Bali now, and his company is valued at 25 million. It's called the Coaching Masters. Yeah, he's very successful coach, and he visited me. He flew over to England to visit me while I was in rehab this time. And said, "Look, Ben, I can help you come up to Bali, create a new life because it's very cheap to live out here. My rent is £100 a month, right?
Wow.
The food you can live for tenner a day. You can have three good cooked meals. Yeah, you can hire a moped for £70 a week. Don't need a license. We're supposed to have one, but nobody says nothing. Nobody wears helmets. The police bribe you. You just give them a bit of money if they catch you. It's a completely different world out here, and obviously it's full of Westerners. So and how can I say this without being inappropriate? But it's a hot country, and it's stunning, beautiful Russian women, American women, not wearing very many clothes, mate. It's a beautiful country.
Listen, go
But
and
what
listen,
got me into coaching?
honestly, go to people, go check out his Instagram because I watched it and I was envious. I was going, wow, this place looks like a paradise. Like,
Yeah, listen, if I can do it, anyone can do it. You just find a little job where you can make, say, £500 a month or grand a month online. You can live out here like a king, literally. But what got me into coaching was because of the therapy that I done, and I realised the therapy that I learned is not just for addicts; it can be for anybody. And basically, my coaching program is basically what I learned in therapy. It's all starts with teaching people to love themselves first, because once you start loving yourself first, your life just improves in every area, and then set little goals to achieve things, help people find purpose, find direction. You know what I mean? I've even done like relationship coaching, even though I'm not in a relationship, but I know like it's probably best not to commit too early to a relationship unless you really know the person because it won't end well. You want to give yourself at least 3 months to get to know somebody before you tell them you love them. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. And I learned a lot about children, how to treat children, let children cry, encourage children to cry. Never like say, "Oh, don't cry, my darling," because crying is it's a normal part of life. You know, when you're born, what's the first thing you do? Cry or laugh. So that means there's two feelings: happiness or sadness. So that's what got me into the anxiety thing. So I thought, if happy and sadness is if a baby's perfect when it's born and it cries and laughs, it's got two feelings, happiness and sadness, then happiness and sadness are both good feelings. Gotta be for a perfect baby. So anxiety must be good. But society have labeled it as bad. Oh, son, you've got anxiety, go to the doctor. Oh yeah, well you take this tablet. Nah. Sit with your anxiety, learn to deal with it, use it as a tool, use it as a positivity. So I label all feelings as good. You just got to learn to deal with them, understand them. But
Yeah, I think what
as
essentially what you're saying is you need an outlet for all these emotions, for all these natural things that people feel. We've
yeah,
we've been feeling anxiety for since the dawn of time. Anxiety is a natural thing. It's about instead of masking that anxiety, accept it, go through it, conquer it, and maybe
yeah.
you might conquer that anxiety that you have. Would you be totally
When
100% anti-pharmaceutical then?
I won't take no medication now for anxiety or nothing. No, never. I might take a painkiller if I'm in real serious pain, but I wouldn't. If I don't think I'd ever get depressed again. Not through the therapy I've done, because I've realised happiness is a choice and suffering is a choice. Yeah, believe it or not, happiness is a choice and suffering is a choice. I have a little prayer that I say every day from a woman called Louise Hay. She's dead now. She did a prayer. It's called "I am open and receptive to all the abundance and the beauty of the universe. Today is a good day because I will choose to make it so." So, say for instance, my brother died, yeah. I chose to destroy my life, yeah, and cry and take drugs. Then I thought about it. Is that would he really have wanted me to do that? Nah, he would have wanted me to have a good day, be happy. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So next time someone else dies, I'm not. I might get sad, but I'm going to have a good day at their funeral. Doesn't make sense to be a fully depressed maniac at a funeral. Be happy for the life. So it's all different. It's just perspectives, different perspectives that work with different people. But for me, now I know happiness is a choice, suffering is a choice. Don't get me wrong, I do have days where I'm negative, but because of the therapy, I remember and I can snap out of it and say, Ben, you know that ain't gonna end well. Then I switch to thinking. But I've got like a head for the toolboxes. I could go on for ages talking about different things. Um, but a lot of it's to
Where
do with
can people find
perspective.
you though, Ben? Where can people find you if they're interested in your stuff and they want to join this thing or they
Facebook.
Facebook?
Well, listen, I'm in the process of doing an ebook, right, on my course I'm doing. Yeah, I've got a Facebook group. I think it's called All in the Mind. I can send you all the links. I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page. I can send you all of them. So when you post your video onto Facebook or YouTube, you can add them if you want to, if you don't mind. Um, and people can reach out to me that way.
I will add all social media links. And I don't know, have you got a YouTube channel?
Not yet, but that's what I'm next. I'm thinking about doing it. I'm thinking about creating one because, like I was saying, I want to do something just pure positivity. Simply, just get a group like you, me. You know, you're quite a wise fella, mate. I can tell by the way the questions you ask me because you've made me think. You know what I mean? Sometimes I speak with people and I don't need to think. But you've made me think about certain things that I couldn't quite answer. So you're quite an intelligent person. So let's say there's you, me, a few other people with different uh, gifts. We all get together, just having a chat, just general chit chat, and there's someone on your audience who wants to come in. We say, come in, join us. What's wrong? And sit down with us. We'll have a crack. I'm thinking that at the minute, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Create a
100%,
positivity
man. Listen,
sort of.
you start the channel, and what happens is, what I'll do is, if you are watching this after the fact, way after, I will post the link for Ben's YouTube in the comment section of this video. So you just click that link and subscribe and ring the bell to his channel. It might not be up straight away. You might not create it straight away, but I will post it whenever I will
Yeah.
post it in this comment section of this video whenever he does make that, along with all his social medias where you'll be able to find his groups,
Yeah,
pages, his Instagrams. All those links can be found in the comment section of this video. And please go
yeah,
over and check his social medias out. Ben,
yeah.
I think
And I'll do the. Go on.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I've got a mate. I reckon he'd definitely come on there, and I think you'd enjoy him on there. Listen to his story. He's a very good singer. And you might be able to help each other out as well, because he'd share your stuff. I'll share your stuff as well. If I ever see a video of yours on YouTube, mate, that I really like, I'd share it. You know what I mean? Because that's what I'm all about. What you give, you get back. Do you know what I mean, mate? And I'm only 6 months out of rehab, so I'm trying to do anything I can to create a life. I'm not going to start asking for a donation page, but if people want to give me a bit of money to help me build a studio or something like that, I'm going to accept it, mate. Because like I said, I'm fresh out of rehab and doing everything I can to make a life. But I'm not going to start like doing what they call bloody GoFundMe's. No, I'm not. But I think coming from this, because what's his name? Sean Atwood's his woman's messaged me. So I think when I go on there, something might come on there. I might write a new, because I'm already a published author. I might write another book. You never know. I might get asked to go to colleges, go to schools, do talks. Things like this normally happen.
Where can people get your book?
One sec. It's called. I can send you a picture of it. There's 21 inspirational, motivational stories in it. Yeah, not just mine. Right. The whole reason for doing this book. Oh, sorry. The whole reason for this. Oh, bloody, what's going on? I was asked to go to an entrepreneur event once just to tell my story, how low you can go and how you can get back for it. And at the end of it, I said my dream was to write a book. And lo and behold, there was a published author in there, this woman there. And she said, I want to publish your life story, just my book.
Let's see the book.
For me. And I started doing it. And then she came up to me and said, I've got another opportunity for you. She said, I'm writing a book, but there's 21 people in it, inspirational stories. I want yours to be in it, but just minimize your story. It's only 4 pages long. Pretty much what I've told you. I could screenshot it for you, and you can read the little bits for yourself. And
100%, man. Yeah, well, I'll give it a read. Definitely, it seems like
the money doesn't go to me. This all goes to charity. The money for this doesn't go. I mean, yeah.
I think you're breaking up there.
Sound for as well. That on there. They go to page whatever it is, 83. There's yeah. So like I said, the money doesn't go to me for this book. It all goes to charity. But I can send you pictures and that of it. I can send you the 4 pages of my story just so you can read for yourself. And yeah, go from there.
100%, man. Do that. I'll definitely give it a read. I think what we'll do is we can do a part 2 because there's many other questions I want to ask you. But I think for people to absorb what you've said today, it would be good just to
yeah.
To listen to that. That's the baseline of your story. I know.
Well, do you know what I've had a thought, because I want to do 3 books, like my life story, then do about the relapse, and do what I do today that keeps me clean, keeps me motivated, how I help people. You know what I mean? Something like the Hornsby method or something like that. But whatever, mate, whatever you want to do, I'm up for anytime,
100%,
mate. Do
100%.
part 2, do part 3, do part 4, we'll do part 10. We'll do it every week if you want.
You're always welcome on this channel. Your story's phenomenal. You've graced us today
Yeah.
with your speaking. Listen, once again, thank you very much for coming on. It is the end of the podcast. Guys, remember all social media links can be found in the comment section of the video. All links for Ben's channels and stuff. And guys, any last words, Ben?
Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to Dean Lynch Ward for introducing me to you. He's a legend. And he's fighting soon in 2 weeks. And hope he wins. And he's helping out a suffering addict. The boxer used to be the lad used to be a really good boxer, and he got on drugs, and he's 8 days clean. And Dean's having him in his corner. So respect for that, Dean. Hope you win your fight. And my mate Jimmy James Entertainment. He's a singer, and he's helped me out all through my. I was in rehab with him, and he's gone from 0 to 100. And I'd love to get him on your show, mate. So big shout out to you, James. And
Thank you, brother, for having me on. It's been brilliant. It's been like a
Listen,
therapy session for
big
me,
up,
mate. Honestly, it really has.
no, listen, Ben, it was my pleasure, and big up to Dean too. Listen, he's a great guy, and 100%. If you anybody that you want to get on and have a chat with, that's what my channel's for. Ben, thank you very much for joining us, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and peace.